Seeing what I've been seeing over the last 14 games, seeing Ben Simmons assert himself in this league without Joel Embiid. I mean, I filled out my All-NBA ballot this weekend. The hardest person not to include was rookie Ben Simmons. He might already be one of the 20 best players in the league. That's not even to mention Embiid, who clearly already is one of the 20 best players in the league. And by the way, he'll be back. If there is any threat in the East to the Cavs, it is not Toronto. It is certainly not Boston. It's not the plucky Pacers or the defensive-minded Heat. It is these Philadelphia 76ers. And when you add to it, Markelle Fultz coming off the bench, little energy sixth man, going to give you 20 minutes and somehow 15 points in those 20 minutes. I do not believe Philadelphia has the requisite experience to win 3 rounds in the playoffs, which is what they would have to be because of where they're going to fall, either 3-4 or 4-3 with Cleveland. They wouldn't even be able to meet each other until the Eastern Conference Finals. But that might, I mean, that's positive for Cleveland, by the way, because it's going to give them a couple rounds to get their full roster there, to try to get in full playoff mode. Because Philly right now is playing better than any team in the league except for Houston. And they are a dangerous team that takes high-efficiency shots. That addition of Bellinelli and Ilyasova has been underrated. So I said, what was it, 6 weeks ago, a month ago, CC, that if you were to tell me someone other than the Cavs made the finals, I would say it's Philly, and I still feel that way. I don't think they're going to beat Cleveland, but they're the only team I feel that Cleveland doesn't want to play in the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Well, one thing about Philadelphia, their coach and how they play is underrated. People say, oh, Philadelphia is good. They got good young talent. But they don't really know how they play. They don't know for which the style they do play. And the one thing you didn't mention, Joel Embiid, that's the biggest problem for the Cavs. All right? How he can control the paint, leading the NBA in paints in the post-up, paints in the point.
Points in the paint.
And then also his ability to be able to stretch the court that he would bring either Kevin Love, Larry Nance Jr. to the three-point line, and they can drive to the hoop. That's one thing I've seen in this winning streak, their ability to run their offense and get good looks inside the paint. J.J. Redick is a nice role player, but in speaking about Philadelphia, speaking about the coach, these are all positive things. If you're worried about Philadelphia against the Cavs, that's a Cavs problem too. You might not want to admit that, but there's a problem in the Cavs and what you've seen with the Cavs, because at this point in the process, the Cleveland Cavaliers at full strength and LeBron, they wouldn't be worried. If they were playing good, they were playing at full strength, they wouldn't be worried about a team like Philadelphia. They got no experience. It's their first time collectively getting into the playoffs. So, yes, Philadelphia is doing well, but it's also because one of your eyes has watched Cleveland, and you realize they have some things that you don't know how they're going to transition to the playoffs.
And Cleveland, Rodney Hood in the game Friday night against Philadelphia, Rodney Hood leaves with a sore Achilles. That's been the knock on him throughout his career. George Hill still is not back. But you mentioned Joel Embiid. Listen, the Cavs have decided with starting Kevin Love at center, going LeBron, Jeff Green, Kevin Love as your front line, no Larry Nance, no Tristan Thompson, we are going to give up something on the defensive end to gain it on the offensive end. That is also muted against Philadelphia because Joel Embiid can go out and guard you 20 feet from the basket. Joel Embiid's going to be the defensive player of the year in this league, or at least he should be. And he can punish you, as CeCe mentioned, when he has the ball on the offensive end. The reason this game Friday night was so important, the game where Philly was up 30, Cleveland came nearly all the way back but ended up losing, is if Philly goes 2-0 down the stretch, if they win tonight, or if they win their last 2 games, their last game's against Milwaukee, they will be the 3 seed. Man, that 3 seed and potentially getting Boston in round 2 is a huge coup, as opposed to having to play Toronto in round 2. It might not matter that much to Cleveland. It matters a ton to these guys because Boston, by the way, with no Kyrie Irving, all of a sudden they've got the same type of playoff experience Philadelphia does. Almost none outside of Al Horford and the head coach. So the game to watch in the Eastern Conference, there's only one game that matters the rest of the year in the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee and Philly Wednesday night. That's the game that will determine if Philly is the 3 seed or the 4 seed. That is enormously important to Cleveland and their ability to get through series quickly, and Philly's ability to supercharge this process by potentially getting to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Are you encouraged by the fact that they've played this well and they've missed Joel Embiid through a decent part of it? They do hopefully get him back for maybe he'll miss a game or two of the playoffs. My question would also be, what is considered success for the Sixers in the postseason? Do you see them getting out of the first round, no problem? If they get to the second round, is that a successful season with where they are right now?
Okay, the first part of your question, Joel Embiid had really started them on this winning streak. Now, that's why I've said the coaching has been so good, because they've changed their style just a little bit, because they don't have the post-up presence of Embiid in there. But they've been able to get to the basket, and they pass the ball marvelously as a basketball team. It's really a pleasure to watch. Now, Joel Embiid, I mean, what a personality, but what a talent. Now, I wouldn't want to play him. Now, you mentioned something about him playing defense. He can guard the three-point line. But if he's just on Kevin Love, there ain't no rim protection. So it plays into LeBron and the rest of the team getting to the hole. So I'm very interested in Philadelphia. It has shown a lot with them continuing this streak with him being out, but it's also showed the maturity and the growth of the rest of the team.
And you think this has already been a successful year? Like already, no 50 wins, making the playoffs, already been a successful
regardless
year.
Of what happens.
Listen, if they end up losing to Milwaukee and they fall to the 4 seed, Indiana's been good this year. Like, could Indiana theoretically beat them, particularly if Embiid misses game
That would be disappointing.
That stat is at least slightly skewed because a few of those were intentionally missed. But there is no doubt about this. This year, LeBron, clutch free throws, has been not only the only weakness of his offensive game so far, but one of the biggest weaknesses of any superstar's offensive game that we've seen in the league. Like those, even if we want to get rid of the couple intentionally missed, so now it's 8 for 15 or 8 for 14. That still ain't great. That's still not what you want there. And so this year, that is a fair criticism of LeBron. Now, I reject the idea that that is some overarching theme of his career. In the last decade in the NBA, there have been 2 Game 7s in the NBA Finals. Both of those Game 7s ended with LeBron James hitting the game-winning free throws. Like that, you don't get more pressure-packed than Game 7, game-on-the-line NBA Finals. LeBron James made free throws to win those games or to ice those games. So historically, I don't think this is a problem. This year, those numbers aren't lying. Like, you saw it, and it's hard for anyone to go to the line and make 3 in a row to tie it, down 3, a second left. What, see?
It's hard for who?
Anyone.
For an NBA player?
Yeah, what do you think?
It's hard for an NBA player to go to the line with 3 shots. All he's got to do is make all 3 of them to tie up the game. That's what you're saying.
What I'm saying is if you're an 80% shooter, you have a 50% chance of doing that. That's what I'm saying. That's simply a fact.
I mean, I didn't know that they were moving the free throw line. I didn't know they was going to move the bucket. It is a free throw.
Yeah, I understand. Cece,
and of all the superstars in the league, you would have confidence they were going to the line. They got fouled for a 3. There might be a reason why Philadelphia fouled him there.
No. They weren't trying to foul him on a shot for 3. They were trying to foul before he took the shot. Like, at no point did they want him to shoot 3 free throws.
Okay, so you're saying there's everyone in the NBA, they haven't seen this stat. So you're saying it's not in the conversation. They're up by 3. We can foul LeBron. There's a chance he could still miss one. That's not part of the overall psyche.
I'm saying that no team, no matter who the guy is fouling on the shot up 3 intentionally. I don't care if it's Shaquille O'Neal trying to pull up from 3. No team would ever foul on a shot intentionally. They were arguing about it. The NBA actually came out afterwards and said it should have been called on the ground. They were definitely trying to foul LeBron, but they were trying to foul him so he had 2 free throws.
This is the thing, Jenna. This won't go away. Because if you're ever going to continue the conversation, is he the greatest ever? This right here is going to be one of the glaring holes. His finals record and his free throw shooting, he will never be able to approach Michael Jordan. So then it becomes very, very hard, like, what's your argument? Because especially free throw shooting late, it is critical. And you wouldn't expect someone of his ability to struggle at the free throw line.
Tell me why you struggle at the free. I mean, is it mental? It has to be mental because it's a shot that you can practice for 24 hours a day. It's always going to be the same shot. How does LeBron let one mental thing seep into his game?
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. The guy is not a great free throw shooter at any point in the game, right? He's around league average. That is the biggest. If we're talking about picking apart the game, which we're going to do if we're calling somebody the greatest ever or one of the greatest ever, it's a fair thing to pick apart. He's around a 75% free throw shooter for his career. A 75% shooter in those situations, instead of being 8 of 17, would be 12 of 17, right? So we're talking about 4 missed free throws. 2 of those were intentionally missed. So we're talking about 2 missed free throws, afar from his career average. So the mental part of it, I personally don't buy into. I mentioned the most pressure-packed free throws of his life to win championships he made. But I want to just go back to something Chris said. Go ahead, Cecil.
Free throw shooting is 2 things. One part is mental, Jenna. You are right. It is mental. Other thing, it's his shooting stroke. All right? Yeah. He's changed his shooting motion at the free throw line at least 5 or 6 times during his career. He's working with something else different now. He's taking 1 step off the free throw line, then getting up. And talking to someone who I know is a great shooter, LeBron's motion. He brings the ball from down by his knees, so the reaction on the shot, he gets a big bounce. Compared to other guys who start a softer motion about from right here at their face and just shoot the free throw. LeBron brings the ball down by his knees and brings the ball up. He believes, because I discussed it with him last week, he believes that's his problem. So, yes, it is mental, because when you are shooting from the three-point line and you can shoot the array of shots that LeBron can shoot, contested, one balance, bank shots, shooting with his left hand, it becomes mental, but it's also the fundamental thing of his stroke at the free throw line. He does not. This is something he has not conquered. He shot thousands of free throws, but this part he has not been able to overcome.
I agree. Yeah. I agree with that entirely. The point that I was making is it would be more concerning if LeBron were a 90% free throw shooter and then had these late game struggles. Sure. It's been a fair knock on him.
But it's a greater sample size. The 90% would cancel out the clutch because you were like, man, over the course of his career, he's 90%.
Yeah.
Like,
it would be more glaring if a guy who's a great free throw shooter. If this were Steph, it's more glaring. Like a guy that's a mediocre free throw shooter, which is what he is, struggling this season late in games is not that shocking. It's not an excuse. I said it's the biggest indictment on
I'm just going to tell you, there was nothing about Michael Jordan's game that was mediocre. There's no point in his game, anything. Passing, there's nothing you could say that was about his game that was mediocre.
All right,
and I'm willing to take on any type.
Well, his three-point shooting. You don't want to have the debate right now, but his three-point shooting was mediocre. Like, we don't have to go into an MJ LeBron debate, but don't say that. And then, like, the three-point shooting was mediocre.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.